As the police and investigators for the Warren Commission reconstructed the Dallas story, Oswald fired his rifle from the 6th floor of the school book depository building. Yet, a few minutes later, possibly less than 2 minutes later, he was stopped by an armed policeman and identified by his own boss on the 2nd floor and the other side of the building. The policeman's name was Marrion Baker.
I heard those shots come off, and they seemed like they was high, and they were directly ahead of me. And as I tried to figure out where they came from, and the building that I had in mind was directly ahead of me, and that was the Texas Book Depository building. As I entered the building there, I asked some of the people that were standing around there where the stairs or elevator was. And there was a man who spoke up and said he was the building manager and he'd show me.
I realized that he didn't know the layout of the building, so I ran in with him. It was just a matter of seconds after the 3rd shot. And we ran across the shipping room floor, stopped at the elevators.
And we couldn't get that service elevator working. And he said, well, we use the stairs. And he turned around and immediately went up the stairs.
We ran on up the 1st flight to the 2nd floor. And the officer looked in the snack bar adjacent to our office.
And I kind of looked off to the right over there through a doorway and saw an image of a man walking away through that doorway. And when I got to the doorway, he was on down there a little bit, and I hollered at him and asked him to come back.
The officer with me had a gun in his hand, and he threw the gun toward the middle of Oswald, and he looked probably a little startled, like anybody else would if you just put a gun in his stomach all at once, which I thought was natural. But
I turned around and asked him if the man worked for him and if he knew him. And he said, yes, said he works for me, and I know him. And at that time, the man never did say anything. I never did say anything further to him. I turned around and went on up the stairs to the 3rd floor.
And this man that you saw later turned out to be Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yes, sir, he did.
Officer Baker, as you think back now to November 22nd, would you hazard a guess as to the time you heard these shots and the time it took you to get into the building and go up the stairs and the time when you first saw Lee Harvey Oswald?
I believe, excuse me, from the time that I heard those shots and time I ran into that building, entered the lobby, and made it up to the 2nd floor, it was approximately 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. And that would be pretty close to it.
In your testimony before the Warren Commission, was this reenacted, this timing?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell me how you did it?
Well, we went back to the same day that we figured what I did that particular day, and we tried to get to the spot where I thought I first heard the shots. And from there, we took it and we did everything, reenacted the whole situation there, the entrance into the building, and the talk we had between the building manager and myself, and then we went on back through the building and we tried to get the service elevator down, and we then went on up the stairs, and that I believe somewhere around 1.5 minutes was our timing on it.
As you recall it, does that seem like a reasonable length of time for him to have been able to do those things?
He could have done it if he'd have been awful fast or if he'd pre-planned it that way. But the ceilings are low on each floor, and the stairways do not have too many steps on them.